Hi, Peter Bulker here, and welcome to today's edition of the Transition Guy. Now, joining me today in the studio is Noel Andrews, who is CEO of JobVac EU. Hi, Noel.
Hey, Peter. Great to be here.
Yeah, no, great to have you. And I'm quite excited about today's episode because one of the biggest challenges that businesses are facing on the in the grand scale of things is people. People has become a massive issue. And also Brexit has played a part as well, because being an island that's been built on migrant labor, we've had the pandemic, we've had a lot of good labor leave the UK. They're not rushing back. Obviously, with the whole Brexit and right to work in the UK, things are very different. So companies need to think out of the box. And you provide quite an interesting solution where actually you still source that great talent, especially from Eastern Europe, but you do it differently, don't you?
Yeah, exactly that. Our big focus is on, helping people hire, remote talent, really, really good remote talent. And there's lots of businesses around the world that have been hiring remotely for years. And the entire rest of the world has just woken up to the idea of hiring remotely, courtesy, obviously, of the pandemic of the last couple of years. And so that now gives some really, really great opportunity for business owners and CEOs to, get a higher quality of talent that can work remotely, can work absolutely commit to their business, but at really, really great value at at rates they can afford, which oftentimes, here in the UK, out in the US and other kind of Western countries, rates are just becoming massively unaffordable.
And this is the key, isn't it? Is actually making sure that the rates are affordable. And if you go back for the last 20 odd years when the whole Eastern Bloc sort of became available to, say, the UK, and you had a lot of the countries joining the EU, and you had that free movement of labor, construction, all those workers, they were fantastic. They came over and actually helped build the UK economy. But a lot of people didn't think about professional services or professional people. And you had to be in the UK. And the big challenge was that, whereas people would come over, that would be great. But all of a sudden you had to pay that much higher wage structure because the cost of living in the UK is far greater. Whereas the countries that you've been targeted, what you find is that actually the education level is really high. In fact, it could be arguably said that in many Eastern European countries, education is far better than it is in the UK. So they're very well educated people. And because they're working in their native country, their cost of living is much lower. Therefore, we're not having to compensate for that in terms of having to artificially raise the price. How have you found people taking to that, though?
So, I bought JobVac back just over 3 years ago now. And so there was already a good, kind of good client base that had kind of discovered this kind of magical pool of people, and we're loving the benefits that you get from hiring from this region of the world, from Eastern Europe. As time has gone on, some of the conversations that I'm having every single day, and I jump on a lot of calls with business owners, with CEOs, and we'll talk about a couple of key things. They'll raise concerns and they'll say things like, well, what's the English like? And I'll be like, well, generally it's better than yours or mine. It's really, really strong. As you said, the education system is phenomenal. And that's both kind of technically around, software engineering and kind of technical and engineering type subjects, but also kind of in general. So, they know that, as countries and as a region of the world that's coming out of, some pretty major hardships over the last kind of 20, 30 years, when there was a lot of kind of war and kind of conflict. And so there's this work ethic that drives them to say, hey, well, I need to have really, really good English. I need to be able to kind of compete, on a global stage, as it were. And then what has happened with, there's plenty of companies, Nike, NCR, many, many others that have set up operations in Eastern Europe. And then now through services like mine with JobVac, what we're doing is helping much smaller business owners to, leverage and get access to the same kind of talent. So, we find that it works extremely well. We get lots of questions about, is their English good enough? Yes, it's absolutely brilliant. How, do they work hard? Yes, they've got a work ethic that, far surpasses anything that you'll generally find in the Western world. They don't have that sense of entitlement that seems to be sadly so common right now. And they know that they need to work hard in order to progress. And And thankfully, we're in a situation where, it's not about business owners profiteering or kind of taking advantage with the rates. It's just this, we're very, very big here at JobRack on making sure people are paid fairly for the roles that they do. But their cost of living is lower, so therefore the salaries that they're looking for, are lower than what you'd be paying in the kind of UK or US, and typically it's around kind of 50 to 60% lower. So for an average business owner that is in growth mode, every pound, every dollar, it all counts. And so if you can hire one person 6 months or a year earlier than you otherwise could, or if you can hire two people instead of one, then hey, that drives growth. That drives means more revenue, more profit. And then kind of it becomes this virtuous circle, and you feed it back in. And maybe at some stage you say to yourself, hey, I'll hire locally. I'll hire here first, and then maybe I'll hire in the UK or the US later. Almost never happens. The vast majority of people that come to us, they start hiring Eastern Europe and they keep going because, why would you not? You've got better quality people, or people that are just as good quality, if not better, with great language skills, great work ethic, and, for kind of a lower rates. And, it's kind of, it would be crazy not to. It's kind of what we refer to as a no-brainer.
In other words, what you're saying is access to great people is easier in those markets, perhaps, than they are over here right now. Because the big challenge we've got over here, if you're a great individual, if you're a great talent, you're already snapped up.
Yeah,
and therefore,
absolutely.
The only way you're going to get hold of that talent locally is if you're going to offer something different. And really, when we're talking about something different, we're talking about more in terms of wages, more in terms of benefits. So it's artificially driving up the costs within the market. And especially right now, where I think it's just been announced that UK inflation alone is 5.3%, which is the fastest rise in 30 years, which is absolutely astronomical. People are asking for wage rises that are automatically becoming erased straight away through to inflation. So no one's better off, apart from the fact that costs keep going up. And most of those costs aren't even able to be passed down to customers, because there's a point where customers will stop paying.
Exactly that. Exactly. And so what you want to be doing, whether it's you're competing for customers or competing for staff, you want to go into a pool where you're not competing, where you differentiate yourself. And so if we take an average business owner that we work with that's looking to hire in Eastern Europe, well, they're not competing. You might have let's say you're a consultancy, right? Or you're an agency and you're based in London, you're a marketing agency, and you SEO people. Well, you can try and hire in London, but you're competing with all of the other SEO agencies that are based in London, or marketing agencies that want those same people. If you go and come across to Eastern Europe and you look to hire, and this is what we do, we help people do this, there's a bigger pool, and the only people you're competing with is the other business owners that have discovered hiring remotely from Eastern Europe, because you're not competing with the in-country businesses, because they're not paying sensible wages. The in-country wages are still really extremely low, and the conditions are often pretty poor. And so you're competing against a much, much smaller, kind of group of people, group of businesses, and that, drives opportunity. And we've got a huge talent pool available. It takes some hunting out. So, sometimes the best people, same as here in the UK, they're not hanging out on job boards. So we have to do some hard work and some active sourcing. And that's what we help our clients do. We go out and find the right people for them.
And typically what we're talking about, we're not necessarily talking about low value roles either, are we?
No, we're talking about, people that are really going to make the difference to you and your business. So whether it's, most of what we do is kind of long-term committed team members. It can start from part-time though. It can start from maybe just 5 hours a week while you get going and grow that out. But we do a lot of full-time. We do a lot of half-time, like 20 hours a week. But these might be people that they might start as a virtual assistant, but they're enabling you to free up your time so that, you can spend it on kind of much better, higher value things. But a lot of the roles that we do, increasingly, we're doing a lot of operations managers, head of operations. So these are people that, you've built your business up, but as the owner or CEO, you're still doing an awful lot of the actual delivery and operations yourself. And you want and need to pass that off to someone else if you're able to grow. And I had this exact same thing, the back end of last year. JobRack had grown, we grew 5x last year, which is huge, not without its pain, because the most important thing to us is that we're delivering a fantastic service. And me personally, that is absolutely kind of intrinsic to what I'm about. And if I at any stage, if I have any fears that we're not doing that, I start to self-sabotage on the marketing and the sales side of things. And I just don't do the marketing things I'm supposed to be doing because I have this fear. Well, if I do the marketing, I'll get sales calls. If I have sales calls, I'll sell. And that, if we haven't got that quality there, then that makes it harder. And so, personally with JobRack, I've invested early in building the team out. I always want to be 3 steps ahead in terms of our quality of delivery. And again, obviously I have a fully Eastern European team, and that enables me to do that, without too much risk, to drive that kind of growth. And that's the big opportunity, is to really get, really senior people, really experienced, switched on people. So in my case, I hired an operations manager. I had a very senior lead recruiter. I've got some full-time recruitment and sources in place. And that, you hire really good people. They're the ones that make the difference, not just kind of, excuse the phrase, but kind of people just to do tasks, right? Yes, sometimes you have some dull, boring tasks that you want to get off your plate. What you really want is people that can think and do, so that they're going to take a task from you, they're going to do the task, and then they're going to make it better. And they're going to jump into Zapier, for instance. They look at how to automate it. They're going to streamline things, and all the time having you and your business in mind, so that they can make it bigger and better, and help you grow.
And here's another question for you. I suppose, are there prejudices against people who say, hey, well, these people are not going to have much in the way of innovation, or they're not going to be able to help me grow my business? It's just going to be people perhaps that I need to tell what to do. How do you find the innovation from these candidates, their level of experience, them being able to help you build your business without you having to come up with all the ideas?
Yeah, so we find it to be really, really strong. Like any role, you've got to onboard them, right? And the onboarding is that's where you make a success of hiring. You put the effort when you've got a new team member starting, you put the effort to bring them on board, teaching them how you like to work and what you want from them. And then, slowly you give them that autonomy, right? And you kind of, set their expectations, and then just kind of let them run with it. And we find it works really, really well. It is intrinsic to, the culture in Eastern Europe. People are very direct in communication style, wholly different from if you've ever hired from the Philippines or from India, very, very different in terms of how happy they are to challenge you. And as, slightly reserved, softly spoken Brits or Americans, initially it can be like, almost brash. It's like, wow, what just happened? And then you get used to it. And then you're like, there is no going back from this, right? When someone calls you out on something that you've done wrong, or if they call you out and say, hey, look, boss, I know you asked me to do it this way, but actually I think it would be better if we did it this way. And that's the culture that you want to create. You want to be open to challenge. That's super important. And so culturally, they have that as standard. And experience-wise, you can kind of foster and kind of encourage that more and more. But it's something that's just kind of there as standard. And, all of the smartest CEOs and business owners that I'm working with, we're all focusing on just encouraging more and more and more of that. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to be working 100 hours a week, overseeing every task. I want to kind of give a bit of an overview of something, an objective, an outcome, and then let them run with it. Because generally what you want is people that are brighter and smarter and better than you at the things you want them to do.
No, I totally agree. And actually, when you talk about some of these senior roles, I suppose it's going to have to be a mindset shift, because if you talk about head of operations, a lot of people would still have the ideology that the head of operations need to literally be physically present in the business. But that doesn't necessarily need to be the case. It's just thinking differently.
Exactly that. And then that's what the pandemic has forced us to do, right? If you would have asked, there's a whole bunch of businesses that 2.5 years ago, if you'd said, you're going to work without your team being in an office, they would have laughed. They were like, oh, no, that's not for us. We can't do that. Don't like home working. Well, they've had to. They've had no choice. And now what we're seeing is, some of them ramming their staff back in an office, but a lot of the staff going, yeah, that's not for me. I don't want to do this every day of the week. And sometimes it's great to get together. I'm a big fan of getting the teams together. But, I have a 100% remote team. So far we've not met up as a team yet. We will do this year. I'm really looking forward to that. But, communication is key. We put a lot of effort into it. It doesn't make the slightest bit of difference. All of our work is online. There is no need for us to be in a room. And that is increasingly so. That is the case for so many businesses. And, they've found that actually they can do it. And the ones that couldn't do it have a lot of them have struggled a lot in this last year or two. And so, that's opened people's eyes to the fact that, well, hang on a minute. If I've got an office in London, and if I've got some of my team working remotely from a home 20, 30 miles outside of London, what difference does it make if they're 20 or 30 miles away, or 300 miles or 3,000 miles? Makes no difference. Align the time zones, have enough crossover, and you're away. And in reality, how much synchronous time do we need with our team each day? A couple of hours is generally plenty. We often aim for like 3 to 4 hours. So that means that people, in the US can hire from Eastern Europe without any problem at all. Same with people in Asia. So that is just rethinking it and just ignoring the status quo that a lot of these things came from. Henry Ford, for instance, is credited with introducing the 5-day working week, and kind of the 2-day weekend. So some of this stuff is from, decades and decades old. Doesn't have to be that way now.
Oh, brilliant. And I take it that eventually other people will catch on to this and do the same thing. So if you look at markets like India and the Philippines, I mean, they have literally over the years been oversubscribed.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And you can hire amazing people from all over the world. And the key thing is figuring out what it is you need, what it is you want for your business and what results you need. And then, choosing the right place to hire. And that's where, people like me, people like yourself, Peter, that, we help the people that we work with make those kind of decisions. And just for a lot of what I do is just, telling people that there are choices out there to get the kind of quality people you want at the rates you can afford. And Eastern Europe is fantastic for that.
So people want more information about you, or they want to connect with you, because this is a fascinating topic and this can help so many people. Where do they go?
Yeah, so simply head to jobrack.eu. There's plenty of information there. My contact details are there. I'm always happy to jump on kind of hiring clarity calls as well. So if you've got some needs and you want to chat through how to get them, regardless of whether you think it's from Eastern Europe or not, always happy to help out. And you can head to jobrack.eu/call, CALL, book in just a quick 15-minute call with me. But yeah, head to the website, jobrack.eu, and always happy to help people out from there.
Wonderful. Now, if anything's resonated with you today, you want a bit more information, especially around hiring, because everyone is struggling with hiring. Well, not everyone, but so many people right now are struggling with access to talent and maybe how to do things differently. Head over to Bulka.com and get in touch. Noel, thank you very much. It's been an absolutely fantastic and interesting episode. Remember, everyone, failing to learn is learning to fail. Please stay safe. Noel, you've been amazing. Thank you very much.